What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Altitude Show. I'm your host, Dave Brinker. This is Elevation Journal. It's been a few weeks since I've done one of these. Been kind of a crazy travel time, but we're back. Here we are. The Altitude Show is brought to you by Mountain Tough out of Bozeman, Montana. It's an amazing fitness app that has transformed my body and mind, and it was pretty cool. A couple weeks ago, I got to work out on the road with them in Reno. I'm doing that again next week in Salt Lake City. For anybody that is at the Hunting Expo in Salt Lake City, we are going to work out Friday morning at 6 a.m. Details to come. I'll post about it on my Instagram. But if you've never heard of Mountain Tough, it's an app. You can get it off the App Store. It's MTN Tough. And basically, it's functional fitness for the mountain athlete. That could mean you're a hunter or just someone who loves to spend time in the mountains, outdoors. There's programs for everybody up to like elite athlete level, all the way to beginner, all the way to people that are a little bit older. I tend to use what they call their minimal gear dailies because that's about how much time I have during the day, which is about 45 minutes. You don't need a lot of gear. I can do it at my home office. It's amazing. It's challenging every time. They change it all the time. They post a workout every day and delete it every day. So Sarah, Dustin, the team over there always take me through an awesome workout. You can use my code DAVE20 to get 20% off your subscription. Go over to the App Store, get the app. You're going to love it. So last week, or actually this week, the last 2 weeks, we've done a huge giveaway on the Altitude Show's YouTube channel. I'm hoping that you heard about it, but we gave away $5,000 worth of stuff, including a trip to Oregon and a trip to the Bowtech factory to come build a bow for you with me. Yeti cooler, Leupold spotting scope, a Peaks Solace 15 sleeping bag, a Mountain Tough membership, a Go Hunt membership, and more. We did select a winner for that the day before yesterday, and they have been notified. More details to come. There's going to be a secret event that I'm going to tie to this that's going to be happening potentially at the Bowtech headquarters. And it's going to be awesome. I will give you guys more details as it comes in. All right. Or as they come in. All right. So before we get started on today's show, I was thinking about something this morning because I'm starting to plan my year of hunts. And I start off I'm going to California pig hunting here in a couple weeks. And then I have spring coastal black bear in Oregon with Corey Ford and the Angry Spike guys. And then I'm probably going to go to Hawaii and hunt some axis deer, maybe some sheep. I'm hoping I have, according to the odds, about 60% chance of drawing my premium antelope tag in Oregon, which I've been waiting. I got it like 17 years ago, so I'm about due again. And then I'm planning on hunting elk in Oregon, obviously, and hopefully getting Montana. I think I have about a 50-50 chance of getting Montana this year. And then I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I haven't been whitetail hunting in the Midwest for several years, so I think me and my buddy Brett are going to head to hopefully maybe Kansas in November and hunt some whitetails. I actually really enjoy hunting whitetails. The reason I'm telling you all this is not to brag. The reason I'm telling you this is I'm excited. And I have to plan for all these things. So I've been spending a tremendous amount of time on Go Hunt, researching odds, looking at maps, reading articles about all these different things. And it helps me. It helps me tremendously because much of hunting these days is planning. It's a ton of planning. The actual hunt only takes a week or whatever. But the planning and the preparation is all year. So you should become a member of Go Hunt, become an insider, and you can have access to all the same things that I do. You can use my code Altitude. The cool thing is all the functionalities, or at least most of the functionalities that are on your desktop version of Go Hunt are now on the app. So you can use them on your phone too. Like you can do many things on your phone that you couldn't do even just a couple months ago. The app is only getting better all the time. Plus, they have a gear store. I haven't told you guys about this in a while. Their gear store has all the best brands in the industry on it, and you can use my code to get a huge percentage off. I think it's 10 or 20% off on their store. So use that hack and go to their store and buy some gear. use code Altitude. Altitude to join Go Hunt. Altitude on their gear shop. Altitude is the discount code. Go use it. Get a discount. Get better. Prepare. Plan. There you go. All right. So let's get started. Today's show, I've been wanting to do a show about this for a while, but I haven't had time to really reflect and sit down and actually put it together like I wanted to. The subject of today's show is alcohol. And alcohol is something I talked about a lot because I've talked a lot about mental health and anxiety and stuff like that, and just physical health. But many of you know, or may not know, that I went 12 months without alcohol from November 2022 to November 2023. And I talked about it on my Instagram and on the podcast and stuff. So I wanted to give you guys sort of a follow-up to that for those that did follow along with that, or maybe you're just curious about what that might look like. Now, there are a lot of people that don't drink alcohol at all. They're like, why do I need to hear this? And for those, congratulations to you. You're ahead of the curve. But I wanted to share kind of what I went through, what I learned, and what I'm going to do different in the future. So a little bit of background. I grew up in rural Oregon in a logging town, and just culturally, alcohol is ingrained in you from the time you are in your early teens on, right? I think I got drunk my first time when I was 15 years old. I might have had my first sip of beer before then, but I can remember pretty vividly getting wasted when I was 15 years old. And from that time forward, probably by the time I was 16, I was getting drunk at least twice a week, sometimes 4 times a week. And that's when you're introduced to I think I started chewing tobacco when I was 15. This is all just accepted things that happen in our culture, in the rural American culture, for better or for worse. It's just the way it was. And so anyways, me and my buddies, we were going up in the mountains having bonfires. We were getting people that were 21 to buy us cases of Coors Light, Coors Original, Milwaukee's Best, all the best beers on the planet. And semi-joking. Although Coors Light back then was like, that was just what we drank. And we did that all the time. And as you move out of your teens and into your early 20s, it changes a little bit. You become 21. Now, I got a fake ID when I was 19. So I was going to the bar at 19. So I was there, a few years earlier than a lot of my friends. So you start going to the bar and you start closing that sucker down 3-4 nights a week. And the hangovers get a little worse because at this point you're introducing shots and just standing in a smoky, unventilated room until 2:30 in the morning. You wake up the next day, you got to throw away your clothes and you feel like shit, like absolute garbage. And that's kind of your 20s. And then as you move out of your 20s into your 30s, you get married, you have kids. Then the alcohol transfers over into more social events. Maybe you're going to a birthday party, or you're going out to dinner with friends, or you're using it as a stress reliever because generally by this time your work life stress has gone up, your home life stress has gone up because now you're responsible for kids and your spouse, whatever. But the common red thread through all of those phases, through your teens, your 20s, and your 30s, is this sort of cultural acceptance and inclusion of alcohol. It's kind of just part of our culture. It's in every country song. It's in every pop song. And for better or worse, it is there. And many of us just accept it, and as I did, and just do it, right? And if you don't do it, you're somehow frowned upon. So as I got into my early 30s, mid 30s, I started more paying attention to these type of things because you start feeling like shit. You can't handle it as well as you used to. Like Hank Williams says in his song, "The hangovers hurt more than they used to." That is totally true. When I was 21, I could do that 3-4 nights a week. I still felt like shit, but I could at least do it. No sleep. Also, by this time, you've most likely had someone around you die. And so you realize sort of the mortality of us all. And that's the first introduction to that. And it's really hard to take. You have kids now that you are a role model for. You start noticing that. You start getting fat because the calories don't go away like they used to. And that dad bod just grows and grows and grows. And you get that little pot belly, beer belly. you start aging, you start getting your first gray hairs, you see the people around you aging. And this is the time of your life where you're supposed to be in your prime and making the most money and providing for your family and not dying. So for me, at least, all these things become apparent to me because I try to be somewhat self-conscious and improve. The other thing for me at this point was as I've gotten older, my anxiety got worse, and it's probably for a multitude of reasons. As you get older, you have more responsibilities, so you do have more anxiety. You're more stressed out. But as I got into my 30s, late 30s, mid 30s, alcohol started making my anxiety like multitudes worse. So I decided, and I have decided a few times since then, to just stop drinking altogether and just take pause and see what it does and try to determine a better path for the future, because it became so culturally ingrained in me over my life that I had to figure out something different. Plus, I've hit a couple extreme lows. I have made the worst decisions of my life when I was drinking. And when I look towards the people that I admire most, a lot of them don't drink at all. So a couple times in the last decade and a half, I have decided to just stop cold turkey for a period of time. Now, I've done it a couple times for a month. I've done it a couple times for 6 months. I've done it a couple times for a year. Well, in November of 2022, I decided to do it again for 12 months. I think it's a really, really good challenge, and it's worth doing just to kind of learn a bunch of things. So the reason I did it is because I like to challenge myself with different things. If you guys follow me, I try a lot of hard things. I'm a bow hunter. I'm a songwriter. I just started jujitsu at the age of 42 last year. Like I like challenging things that push me to become better. I also, as I mentioned earlier, as I get older, just you realize you're not invincible, and more you lose more and more people in your life. I have personally witnessed multiple people going through horrible cancer over the last several years, and you just start realizing that longevity is a pretty interesting topic. Like you start thinking about that. Maybe you have friends that are aging worse than other friends. Maybe you've lost friends. Maybe you have, at this point in your life, your parents are getting to that age where you're starting to maybe take care of them, etc. Longevity, you're like, man, I want to live longer. And for me, I want to hunt elk until I'm 90, which is all encompassing. If I can do that, I feel like I can do all my other functions at that age. My mental health means more to me now than it ever has because I'm so busy. I have multiple businesses. I have kids. I have family. I have life that I have to have my mental health. It's my most important asset. So if I'm overly anxious or sleep deprived or hungover or dehydrated or whatever, I'm not going to be able to perform at the level that I want to perform at. I am really focused in this decade of my life of being professionally successful because I feel like I'm in my prime. I can handle it the best right now. So I really want to use my 40s to do the hard work, like put the effort in so I can live the last half of my life the way I want to. Not that I don't live it the way I want to right now, but my goal is to be financially free by the time I'm 50. And I'm on track to do that. And every day I wake up and work towards that goal. So doing things that stifle even just 2 hours of that don't make a lot of sense to me. So I wanted to challenge myself and just see if this is something I can do without. Now, a little bit more context. I only, at this point in my life right now, before I did this, I'd probably have, I don't know, a half dozen drinks a week, but it became fairly habitual. I'd have a beer or two at night when I'm stressed out. On the weekends, I'd always get a beer or two or whatever. But I'm not an alcoholic, and probably my situation can't relate to someone who has a real drinking problem that should seek professional advice. This is more just for that casual rural American cultural drinker, anyways, so those are kind of my whys. So November, I started doing it, and I'm going to go 12 months. And so what I wanted to go through is first the 4 biggest challenges that I encountered while doing it, and every time I do it. Number one is, and everybody will say this, it's like fear of judgment and from your friends. I have specific friends that like to give me shit when I'm not drinking. It's all in fun. Like I don't take it personally. Um, but it does happen and it is real. And I think the worst thing you can do is shy away from it, because if you just avoid all social interactions that include drinking, I think you miss out on a lot of fun. I think you can have fun going to these social things, even around these people that are going to give you shit, make you feel like a loser. Like you have to learn how to cope with that. So I think unless you're like an alcoholic that has a real drinking problem that has to avoid that because they can't resist having a drink, different. But if you're like me, who just likes the social lubrication, you can stop. I don't, even though you have that initial fear of being in those situations where people are going to give you shit for not drinking, like it doesn't take very long to get over that. And you go to a couple of those social situations, you make it all the way through, you wake up feeling great the next day. They probably wake up feeling not so great. And you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I still had fun too. Like I have just as much fun without it. So you can put yourselves in those situations and become stronger. But it is a hurdle for sure. The second hurdle is, because it's such a habit and ingrained in every portion of our culture, it's like this thing that you constantly got to be batting away. So, but there's a couple tricks that I learned for doing that. One, obviously there's triggers. Habits have triggers. When I get home, I have a beer. When I go out to dinner, I have a beer. When I go to see this friend, we have a beer. When we watch football, I have a beer. It's like, but like identifying those triggers and those places where it is a habit and be like, I'm going to go watch this football game, but I know consciously I'm not going to grab a beer. I'm going to grab a seltzer, or I'm going to have a coffee. I'm going to go out to dinner, but I'm going to have sparkling water or even a mocktail, which I'm not a fan of, but maybe you like mocktails. Or there's great non-alcoholic beers that I do like. Athletic Brewing is a great example of that. I also like the Guinness non-alcoholic stout they make. Regardless, there's ways to like quench the habit, the habitual side of you, but you have to be conscious of when those triggers are occurring, so you're prepared for them and you have alternatives. So have those alternatives. The third hurdle, that this is actually the hardest one for me, is stress relief and sort of that self-medication part of it, because I have anxiety. It does feel temporarily good to drink a beer because it makes my anxiety go down. But what happens in a couple hours, it actually spikes. It goes up, which is called anxiety. And that's what wakes you up in the middle of the night. So the hardest part for me is learning how to cope with those really bad days or those really stressful situations that you just want a beer just to stop the stress for a second. For me, that has been finding evening activities, especially during the winter, that are healthy. So they take you away from the situation. For me, it was jujitsu or archery. Join an archery league, whatever that might be for you. Maybe it's a book club. I don't know. But having those things that you can go to in the evening, because the evening's generally when you drink, right? And they're healthy. They get you active or around people that are in a positive environment where you're learning something and challenging your body and mind. So it's really finding better ways to cope with your stress. And if you can find those, it's different for everybody. You have to use them, and you have to push past that urge to stop and get a 6-pack of beer because you're stressed out. You will survive. All stress goes away eventually. All storms clear. So it's going to be okay. You can do it. Just push past it, get some sleep, and maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, maybe even not next year, this stress or whatever this problem is, but eventually it will go away and things will be okay. The drink is going to maybe help you for a brief moment, but it's going to make it worse a few hours later when it wears off. So what are you going to do? Keep drinking? It's just not a great solution. So the fourth challenge that I've found is it was part of the first one too, is there's enablers in your life where they only want to hang out with you if you're drinking because for whatever reason, like maybe that's the only thing you guys have in common. Like I had people like that I'm not friends with anymore. The only thing I had in common with them was drinking. And that's just the way it is. And that's no bash against any of your friends or any of my friends. It's just the way it is. There's some people that are just really fun to drink with. But you got to pay attention to that, because if that is really the only singular reason you like somebody, I don't know that I put myself in that situation anymore. But that's probably not most people. Most people, you have connections further than that, and you can probably have fun with them without it, even if they are drinking. But here's what I would say. There is a point when other people are drinking, when you're not drinking, where you just got to leave. Like, I know once people get to the point where I can't understand what they're saying, and or I'm not laughing at their jokes anymore, it's just time to go to bed, because that the fun goes substantially down after that point. It's usually right around 10 or 11 at night, or maybe you can make it to midnight, but after midnight, good luck. I know some people that can do that sober. I'm not having fun anymore being around people, so I just go to bed. So those are the 4 biggest challenges. Okay, so here is the top benefits I found. 1, because anxiety is a huge issue for me, I have to sleep. And studies show that even if you just have 2 drinks a day, your sleep is decreased by 24%. A quarter of your sleep is lost even if you only have 2 drinks. That's freaking insane. That is insane. For me, that is unacceptable. If I don't get the proper amount of sleep, for me, it's like 9 hours. I do not operate at my full potential the next day. And as I said earlier, I have to, because I have a lot of responsibilities. So sleep, 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 sleep. When I don't drink, I sleep like it's like a miracle. I actually wake up and I feel great. So sleep was a huge benefit, like probably the biggest for me. Number 2 was just focus. Like, and it's not just like focus, like, ooh, I'm so focused. It's like self-awareness, energy, drive, willpower. Like, you just have this, I don't know what it is, like this mentality, like you're more there to put energy, the energy you may have exerted into this activity, into the things that actually matter for you, like your goals. Like for me, being a successful parent, husband, bow hunter, business person, human being, like I can put the energy there, as opposed to taking away energy from those things. So like you're just more focused, you're more there, you're more self-aware, and you can drive that energy forward to what you want. Physical transformation. I have never, maybe since I was 16, had a 6-pack. I have a 6-pack, and I have for about a year, and it's somewhat because of alcohol, but it's also because I made drastic changes to my exercise routine, my physical activity. But alcohol just gives you unnecessary calories. It makes you fat. Everybody knows it. People want to deny it. You don't need Ozempic. What you need is to not drink and exercise, or drink minimally and exercise. And that is a huge benefit for me. I like being in shape. I feel better. I sleep better. I don't have huge crashes as much anymore. And you look good. You want to be sexy for your partner. You want that beach bod. So the next thing is decision making. Like I said earlier, some of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life were even just from a couple drinks. So you're less emotional, you're more thoughtful, you're more rational, you're more clear, which makes you a better professional. And in your personal life, it makes you better around your kids, better around your spouse, better around your parents, better friend, better mentor. Like making better decisions, they add up. They add up. Like like over the course of time, thousands of good decisions make a substantially better life. A couple really bad decisions when you're drinking can dramatically impact your life. Not that you can't make a bad decision when you're not drinking, but you're definitely increasing your odds to not when you are sober, if you will. My love life has improved when I don't drink, especially sex life, my sexual drive, performance, your connection with your spouse, just being present. And again, because of that focus and self-awareness, you actually are just a better human to be around. I found when I drink in the evening, I get really edgy with my kids, especially. And I'm just kind of a garbage parent when I do that, to be honest with you. And I don't like that. So definitely better relationships, better love life. This was probably my second thing that I think about when I was doing this, besides anxiety. And that is, as you get older, longevity means more to you. More people around you are getting sick and or pass away. And you kind of realize, like, you're not here forever. Like, statistically, I'm over halfway through my life. I think the average male lives to like 77 or 78. And if you start working out the hours and the days and the minutes that you have left statistically, it can be really eye-opening. I've always wanted to put a clock above my podcast booth that actually statistically shows me how many minutes I have left. Hopefully I outlive that by 20 years or 30 years, but that's just statistics. So longevity becomes a part of the conversation. Alcohol increases blood pressure, increases the risk of heart disease, increases the risk of liver disease, increases the risk of digestive problems. Cancer, in some studies, has been shown to increase 40 to 500% because of alcohol use. I want to elk hunt till I'm 90. And that doesn't add up for me. So it's a pretty big problem for me to think that something I just like doing because it's kind of fun sometimes can potentially increase my risk of dying earlier. I don't like that. You can get cancer. We can all get cancer. We can all die early, unfortunately. But you can try to stack the odds in your favor by doing the right things. So those are the main benefits I found. Like, I do believe my life is better without it. I will say that out loud. But this podcast is going to take a turn right now because I want to tell you guys about my next steps. You may think, oh, he's not going to do it again. That's not necessarily the case. But I think I have found a model for alcohol, at least in the short term in my life, that is as healthy as it can be. And the first part of that is extremely limited intake. So over the last several months, so what is it, February? So last few months, I don't keep alcohol in the house, period. So no matter how stressed out I am or how much I want one, I can't get it in the house. I have seltzers and coffee and water in the house. And just simply by doing that, you cut it out of your week completely. I limit because I do like a cold beer and I do like a nice glass of wine. I just do. It tastes good and you can enjoy life. You know, it doesn't all have to be black and white. There are these rules of moderation. So special events, dates, vacations, I can sort of like I enjoy an ice cream, right? Or a dessert. Like I have a sweet tooth. It's like on an occasion, it's okay. Like I can have a cold beer when I go out with my wife on a date. We're sitting by the pool on vacation. I can have a drink. We're at a vineyard and we're wine tasting. I can have a glass of wine, but I'm not going to keep it in my home. And I'm only going to do it in those special occasions and very limitedly, at a very limited capacity. Never going to get drunk. I don't think I'll ever be drunk again in my life. I think it's a total waste of time. And I don't, after years of studying it and doing it, I don't understand what the point is. I hate it and I never want to see it again. I think it's awful and evil. But again, moderation. You don't have to get drunk. You can have a drink and just walk away. I may at some point in the near future, or maybe midterm, I may just say, screw it. I'm not doing it ever again, ever. I'm not there yet because I live in wine country. I like a glass of wine. I like a cold beer. I think the model that I'm on right now is working for me. I feel great. I don't need it. I don't even think about it really. Unless we go out, I'm like, oh, they got a pretty good microbrew here. I might try that. And then I can just walk away and be done. So people have asked me, like, I want to try that. Should I try it? I'm scared, whatever. And I say, do it. It's absolutely worth it. Without a doubt. Set a time frame, maybe start with just a month or even just a couple weeks. Be successful at that, and then set a longer time frame. Maybe you try 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. Whatever. I highly recommend you do it. And I would love to hear about the benefits you found, the challenges you found. anyways, that's my alcohol dissertation, if you will. I thought it was worth it. So I learned a lot. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. I'm going to be posting a bunch of content on there. I'm actually starting to do these vlogs. I have one up of setting up my new bow on YouTube, the Altitude Show on YouTube. Our subscribers are blowing up. I love it. I'm going to Montana Knife Company today in obviously Montana, and I'm going to be shooting a vlog there. I got a bunch of them planned. So go follow along. All these podcasts are on there. All the full podcasts are on there. Clips from the podcast are on there. You got to do it. Subscribe to our YouTube. All right, guys. Have a great day.